2 days later, Zhang Yi received news from the Yangqing base. This time, it wasn't a conversation invitation, but a video clip. Zhang Yi and Yang Xinqin were the first to watch the video. As they opened it, a grim scene unfolded before them, a large factory amidst a snowstorm, with a cold metallic frame where human heads were hanging by wires. Xiao Honglian stood before the execution stand, her gaze disdainful, staring directly into the camera, speaking in a chilling tone. Zhang Yi, this is just the beginning. Soon, you and your friends will also be hanging on the execution stand of the Yangqing base. The video ended abruptly. In a brief minute, the message was clear, it was a declaration of war. Xiao Honglian had decapitated all the students to announce that the war had begun. After watching the video, Zhang Yi remained silent for a moment before raising his hand to sip his hot coffee. Finally, they're dead. It's as if the matter has been neatly resolved. Yang Xinqin sighed softly. Finally, everything has come to an end. Zhang Yi looked at Yang Xinqin and smiled, asking, didn't you hate them a lot before? Now that they're dead, aren't you happy? Yang Xinqin shook her head. It's not exactly happiness or sadness. I truly despised them. I wished they would disappear from this world sooner. But seeing them dead like this still brings a hint of sorrow. I fear that one day my head will also be chopped off and hung up like that. She bowed her head, her small pale hands clutching her dress tightly. I'm afraid. In Zhang Yi's eyes, there was a momentary expression of astonishment, but he quickly understood. Despite Yang Xinqin's intelligence and resourcefulness, she was still just an 18-year-old girl. Seeing people of her own age group, with whom she had lived for many continuous years, dying, it was only natural for fear to grip her heart. Zhang Yi stepped forward and enveloped her in the strong embrace of a man. Don't worry, I'm here. I won't let you die, Yang Xinqin. Because I'm not going to die, so you'll surely live too. Yang Xinqin was crucial support for Zhang Yi, so he would undoubtedly try to protect her until the end. I'll protect you well, so you don't have to suffer any harm, Zhang Yi continued, his warm affection helping Yang Xinqin regain some warmth for her body. She looked at Zhang Yi, her eyes becoming moist. Boss, having you here is great. I won't become a burden to you, I'll become useful to you. So please, never abandon Yang Xinqin, okay? If one day I become a burden to you, I'll handle everything myself. After comforting Yang Xinqin, Zhang Yi decided to release this video clip to everyone, especially Liang Yue, so she could see the truth. Zhang Yi wanted Liang Yue to give up all hopes and illusions in her heart. But he also worried that Liang Yue might not be able to bear this sight. Yang Xinqin reminded Zhang Yi, boss, you need to prepare mentally very carefully. Zhang Yi replied, rest assured, I'm not just preparing mentally, but also preparing precautionary measures. He thought to himself, if Liang Yue truly can't bear it and wants to risk her life by finding the Yangqing base, I'll directly control her, using sedatives to make her rest at home for a while, because all sacrificial acts stem from emotions. No matter how noble the ideals are, they can change. In the end, I'll make her realize that survival is the most important thing. The purpose of life is simply to survive without needing any other reason. Zhang Yi took out a small packet of pills from his pocket and handed it to Yang Xinqin. Put this in her coffee and make Liang Yue drink it all. Yang Xinqin, with a hint of suspicion, asked, what's this? Zhang Yi replied, it's medication to stabilize mood. Yang Xinqin seemed to understand. She said, we'll also try to persuade her. In Zhang Yi's mind, he calculated the waiting time until confirming that the medication had taken effect before summoning everyone to watch the video. He didn't forget to remind everyone that the content of this video might be gruesome, hoping that they could prepare themselves emotionally and not get too agitated. Upon hearing Zhang Yi's words, Liang Yue began to feel that something was not right. She thought to herself, because this video was sent from the Yangqing base, does it have something to do with my students? Zhang Yi glanced at Liang Yue before opening the video. The first scene showed several severed heads hanging limply. As Liang Yue saw this, she felt like her mind was about to explode. Then, she felt dizzy and disoriented, wondering if all her students were dead. In a moment of realization, she understood that all her students were indeed dead. The world in front of Liang Yue spun wildly, her legs wobbled, and the faint voices of others echoed in her ears. Liang Yue, are you okay? Are you all right? Then, her vision darkened, and she collapsed to the ground, losing consciousness. Zhou Kuo asked with concern, Liang Yue, are you okay? The red-haired girl also looked extremely worried, Liang Yue, are you all right? Lu Karen rushed over in panic, Liang Yue, what happened to you? Zhang Yi calmly approached and said, she's okay, I just gave her some sedatives to rest for a bit, she'll be fine. Chu Vu shook his head with a sigh, Liang Yue is a dedicated and good teacher. This is a big shock for her. I hope she'll think more lightly and not dwell too much on trivial matters. Zhang Yi helped Liang Yue up and took her to his room. After laying her on the bed, Zhang Yi instructed Yang Xinxin and Lu Karen, time will ease the pain. For the next 2 days, take care of her and help her manage her emotions. Zhang Yi then told Zhou Kuo to inject her with strong sedatives to stabilize her mood. If necessary, increase the dosage. It's better to keep her in bed for a few days than to let her cause chaos. Zhou Kuo nodded in understanding. After arranging things for Liang Yue, everyone returned to the living room. Zhang Yi then began discussing with everyone about confronting the Yangxing base. He asserted that we couldn't avoid a confrontation with the Yangxing base. There was a possibility that Wei Dinghai's base would also join them. If we had to face 2 major bases, the defensive pressure would be significant. According to the plan, we would fight based on the first line of defense and retreat to hiding places if necessary. If the first line of defense is breached, however, these 2 bases are not like the one we've already defeated. Many of their people, but they also have no reason to die with us. Basically, we just need to cause them certain losses. They will withdraw, so dealing with them won't be too difficult. Moreover, our weaponry has been significantly reinforced compared to before. That's also why I'm not panicking, Zhang Yi explained. He knew that he and the Yangxing base didn't have a blood feud to the extent of killing each other, even though he had killed Xiao Honglian's cousin and Wei Dinghai's underling. The death of a few individuals wasn't enough to lead to a life-and-death confrontation. This war was truly about territorial disputes. A few days later, an old man dressed in a red robe, his face concealed, appeared from afar in the midst of the snowy storm, heading towards the hiding place. Though his steps were not fast, they were steady. Despite his aged appearance, his footprints left deep marks in the snow, indicating his firm resolve. Facing the snowstorm, Zhao Jianhua advanced step by step towards Zhang Yi's hiding place. He raised his head, squinting against the blowing snow that made it hard to keep his eyes open. As he stood there, his normally sorrowful gray eyes suddenly flashed with a strange golden hue. Surprisingly, his body trembled lightly, and in his eyes, there was a vast and majestic aura, seemingly encompassing the entire sky above the hiding place with its imposing presence. It even seemed to overshadow the sky of the hiding place itself. Zhao Jianhua was astonished and thought to himself, what is that, besides that person? Could there be other powerful mutants in this world? Could he be a pair with a celestial being? Zhao Jianhua was a disciple of the Baishua sect, the Grand Law Enforcer. His supernatural ability was Qi perception. He could perceive the aura on each person, especially for mutants whose aura was denser and more vibrant, indicating their strength and unlimited potential. It was precisely because of this ability that Zhao Jianhua could represent the Baishua sect and its leader, Yuan Konya, to preach and recruit followers. He could identify people with mutant abilities and those yet to awaken them. It could be said that the rapid development of the Baishua sect was closely related to his abilities. When his ability suddenly disappeared, Zhao Jianhua took a deep breath and slowly walked away, leaning on his staff. Such an important discovery must be reported immediately to the sect leader and the Grand Altar.